Good afternoon. Welcome to the Indiana Core College Core informational session. It's great to be with all of you this afternoon. My name is Chris Lowry, and I serve as the Indiana Commissioner for Higher Education here in Indiana. We've been having some fun getting ready for this, so pardon our humor here. It is great to be with all of you. I was looking at the list today, and I know there are many friends who are attending this with us. Thanks for taking time. As many of you know, the commission has made a very high priority for the Indiana College Core and have made it a strategic initiative. Our desire, in fact, is for the College Core to be offered in all Indiana high schools by 2026. Just a bit of background. Many of you probably know the College Core came into existence in 2026 or 2012. And again, with our goal toward 2026 of expanding to all high schools, we think this is a necessary priority for Indiana. In its 10th year, which was 2021, August of 2021, only about 16% of high schools were actually offering completely the ICC. And I think many of us looked at this, and although we were expanding, we decided this needed to be a very high priority. As such, by 2022, August of 2022, last year, we were up to 141 high schools offering the College Core. We have over 500 high schools in Indiana, so we know this is a pretty lofty goal. I will go ahead and share with you that we anticipate being able to announce this August that we will be in over 240 high schools. That's a 3x growth in just a matter of 2 years, and of course, we'll be at nearly half of the high schools by then. Some of you who are on the call today, I've known for many years, and I think it's fair to say I'm a big fan of the Indiana College Core. And there's some really specific, some very specific reasons for that. We know statistically that over 90% of Indiana College Core completers go on to post-secondary training and education. In addition to that, their levels of success once they have matriculated are better than the average student. They are well prepared for post-secondary training and education. In addition, the savings are significant. Not only can a student transfer this block of 30 credit hours or a full year to one of our state institutions and many of our private institutions, not only can they do that, in the process of doing so, they save time, they save money. If we look at what the fully loaded costs are at one of our public institutions these days to live on campus, have the full experience, that's in excess of $25,000. And, I think, within that, we realize and see many students who will accelerate their path through college or university, but also many who will take the opportunity to have a second major or simply, again, perform even much better. So, based on the number of attendees, I was told we originally had a threshold of 250. And in fact, we had over 350 registered. I think that's a very good sign. It's clear to me that there is a lot of interest in the Indiana College Core. With that, we're going to be talking, of course, today about the My College Core tool, which is launching August 1st. And we, of course, will welcome feedback from all of you as you have time to explore it further. So before I turn the mic over here, I just want to thank each of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to participate in this, for serving our fellow Hoosier students so well, and just really making the most of the Indiana College Core for our state and the students that we serve. Now, it is my pleasure to turn it over to longtime friend and colleague, Dr. Ken Sauer, our Senior Associate Commissioner and Chief Academic Affairs Officer. Ken?
Well, thank you so much, Chris. And let me add my thanks to all of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to learn more about the Indiana College Core and how the Commission is spreading the word about that great device that we have. So let me start with a little background on the Commission itself. Can you advance it? Thank you, Jillian. The Indiana Commission for Higher Education was created in 1971. It consists of 14 members, all of whom are appointed by the governor. 12 of those members are appointed for 4-year terms. 2 of them, a student representative and a faculty representative, who joined as members of the board through legislation that was passed in 1990. Those 2, the student representative and the faculty representative, have a 2-year appointment. And then they rotate off. We try to alternate. The student member goes off 1 year, and the following year, the faculty member goes off and is replaced by a new student or faculty member, respectively. The commission basically is a one-stop shop for all things post-secondary education. We're a coordinating board, not a governing board, but we work pretty hard to try and develop policies that first and foremost are good for students and good for our institutions and employers. So today we're going to talk about the Indiana College Core, and some of you may be very familiar with it, but even you may be wanting some additional information about certain points about the Indiana College Core, and some of you probably know not too much about it. And we hope we can, by providing this presentation, provide some useful information to all members of the audience, whether you know a great deal or just a little about the Indiana College Core. So it's important to understand some of the background that affects the Indiana College Core. And I'll probably say this more than once over the next few minutes, but there is no daylight between our policies that are associated with dual credit and the Indiana College Core and our transfer policies. And as this slide indicates, we've been working on transfer for a long time. I won't go through this point by point, but as you can see, the Indiana Core Transfer Library goes back to 2005, and there are additional elements of our transfer policy, all of which is rooted in legislation that was passed by the General Assembly over many, many years. So again, the point is that the Indiana College Core draws on a rich history, and once again, there's no daylight between our transfer policy and our dual credit policy. So let's talk a little bit about these components of our transfer policy. First of all, for purposes of this audience, I'm going to start with dual credit because that is so critical to the Indiana College Core. By the way, the Indiana College Core can be completed by anyone. It's not just for high school students, but as the commissioner indicated, the commission has a special emphasis now on making sure that high school students throughout the state will have access to earning the Indiana College Core. So all of this builds on dual credit, also dual enrollment, and I'll say a little bit more about that in the next slide. Credit for prior learning takes in a lot of territory, including military training and industry training. For our purposes, it's probably most important to focus, first of all, on advanced placement, the AP exams, but also the CLEP exams, both of which are offered through the College Board. And as we build out AB and Cambridge opportunities throughout the state, I'm sure those will figure more importantly in having students complete the Indiana College Core. The CTL, the Core Transfer Library, consists of 87 courses, all of which have equivalents for courses that are offered throughout the public sector. Most of them are one-for-one equivalents. Some equate to elective credit, but for the most part, the vast majority will transfer as a one-to-one course equivalent at the receiving institution. The Indiana College Core, which transfers as a block of credit that consists of 30 semester hours of credit in general education coursework. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And then finally, we have something called the Transfer Single Articulation Pathways. We pronounce the acronym TSAPs. And for those of us who have been around these, that just sort of rolls off the tongue. But these are 2+2 associate to baccalaureate articulation agreements that apply throughout the state. In other words, if you complete that associate degree, you are guaranteed that the credits you have earned will apply toward a baccalaureate degree in a related field. And we have all of that information on our Transfer In website. Let's dig a little bit more deeply into a few of these definitions. Let me come back to the term dual credit and dual enrollment. In Indiana, when we refer to dual credit, we are talking about courses that are being taught at a high school by a high school teacher who is working with a college or university, and those credits are can be earned by high school students while they're in high school. And again, coming back to this notion of no daylight between transfer and dual credit, these will apply in the same way that courses that were taken by college students and then transferred would apply as well. Dual enrollment refers to courses that a student would take on a college campus. Some of those courses would be taken through arrangements that the high school or school district may have with the local college campus. Others could be taken individually by a student who simply chooses to take a course, perhaps during the summer, for example. You'll see on the right-hand side the term primary post-secondary partner. This is the college or university that the high school works with in order to make sure that all of the courses that are needed for students to complete the Indiana College Core are offered at that high school, or for that matter, AP exams. Now we know most high schools have other post-secondary partners that are offering courses there as well, but the primary post-secondary partner has some special duties. And I won't go into all of the detail, but the primary responsibility is to make sure that all of the courses and AP exams that might be available at that high school are there so that they can complete the Indiana College Core. Mention the TSAPs. By the way, let me say that the Indiana College Core completely fits into the associate degree component of the TSAP, and that's important. Next slide, Jillian. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the Core Transfer Library, these 87 courses. And while the legislative mandate to create the CTL goes back to 2005, the initial work that led up to the creation of the Core Transfer Library really started back in 1992. So again, there are very, very deep roots in terms of transfer within the state. And I've been here a long time and have lived all of this history, so I know it firsthand. There are, as I said, 87 courses in the CTL. They are organized in 6 categories, with the exception of business. All of those are in the liberal arts. So we have communication, English, literature, humanities, fine arts, life and physical sciences, natural sciences, math, and the social and behavioral sciences. And all of the course equivalencies for the CTL are listed on the Transfer In website. Next slide, Jillian. So let's talk a little bit more about the Indiana College Core. As mentioned, 30 hours created in 2012. And there are 6 competency areas that are included in the Indiana College Core. The legislation said that the Indiana College Core had to be based on competencies. And when the legislation was passed, the General Assembly gave the institutions and the commission 1 year to develop the Indiana College Core. So the first thing we did was to work with the academic leadership of each one of the public colleges and universities to identify how many categories of competencies there would be. And the academic leadership, working closely with the commission, agreed that there ought to be 6 competency areas. 3 of those are in what we call the foundational intellectual skills. So the 3 that are in that category are written communication, speaking and listening, and quantitative reasoning. The other 3 competency areas are called the 3 ways of knowing. So there's scientific way of knowing, social and behavioral way of knowing, and the humanistic artistic way of knowing. Once those 6 competency areas were developed, faculty panels were constituted in each one of those areas with representation from every public 2- and 4-year institution, and they agreed on a more detailed set of competencies in each one of those 6 areas. To complete the Indiana College Core, you need to take at least 1 course in each one of those 6 areas, and it's really up to the institution that awards the Indiana College Core to determine how courses meet these competencies. Next slide. And this will be my last one. So let's talk a little bit more on the ground rules associated with the Indiana College Core. As I said, there needs to be at least 1 course in each one of those 6 areas. The other 12 hours can be distributed in accordance with the institution, but they all have to be in those competency areas. There is, in order for an institution to award the Indiana College Core, and by the way, we make sure that an institution awards a certificate to the student who completes the Indiana College Core. And the institution that awards that certificate has to make sure that the student has completed at least 15 credit hours from that institution. The other 15 could be from other institutions, but the primary post-secondary partner, the one that again confers the certificate on the student who completes the core, has to have at least 15 hours completed at that institution. It's a minimum GPA of 2.0 for courses that are included in the Indiana College Core. The AP, I'm going to focus mostly on the AP exams here, but the same is true for CLEP and IB and Cambridge. But the equivalencies, in other words, how an AP score of a 4 or 5 translates into credit for a specific course is determined by the institution that is receiving the score on that exam. And finally, and this is very important, the completion of the Indiana College Core guarantees transfers of those credits and guarantees that they will apply toward a TSAP, for example, but it does not guarantee admission into the institution. That's a very separate process. And likewise, if an institution has specific requirements for a specific degree program, the completion of the core doesn't guarantee the student that they will be admitted into that particular program. If they are, the credit, especially if it's in a TSAP area, those credits will apply toward that particular program. But again, institutional admission, program admission is very separate from the Indiana College Corps. And with that, I am going to turn things over to my colleague, Jessica Baring.
Thank you, Ken. I am going to pop another poll question into our chat here, if you guys don't mind to go ahead and answer that question. And I'm going to delve a little more into the Indiana College Corps and talk about what it is. Sorry, I was trying to mess with the settings here. Can't mess with the spotlighting, but that's okay. So the first slide I have here is what it is. What is the Indiana College Corps? One of the things that we really want to make widely known is that it looks different no matter where it's taken, the students that are taking it, and who is awarding the Indiana College Corps. So it's going to look different for every student, just depending on their high school and all of the other factors that go into it. As Ken said, the courses, it's based on competencies. So they're all going to have the 6 competencies, but the courses are going to be different that feed into those competencies. The Indiana College Corps is not identical to the University Corps curriculum. It could be, but the Corps at the university may have additional requirements upon matriculation, and I'll get into that here in just a minute. What else the Indiana College Corps is? It's a transcript notation on a student's transcript when they earn it in high school and in college. But when it is earned in high school, the student is actually going to receive the Indiana College Corps as a certificate. So we just want to make sure that that is clear. That's different than when they earn it in college. And sometimes you'll hear us refer, especially here at the commission, we try not to do this, but it's sometimes referred to as the ICC. It can be a mouthful to keep saying the Indiana College Corps over and over. So we try not to do it, but we do. And we know that you guys probably will too. So if you hear that short term, the ICC, then that's what that is. Now let's talk about what it is not. We think this is a really important slide, and this is something that you can use if you are working in high school and you're talking with parents, and you want to kind of dispel some of these myths about the naming of it. Well, it used to be called the STGEC, and that was short for Statewide Transfer General Education Corps. Across the state, we heard it called St. Geck, all kinds of things. So it was about 2019 or 2020, the commission went through an initiative to rename it, and that's how we got to the Indiana College Corps. So please, if you are in a high school and you have reference to the STGEC or any of the variations of that, do not use that on your website anymore or your marketing materials. It's out of date for several years, and we have some great marketing materials that we will touch on later that will be available on our My College Corps website. That is one of the things that we have really beefed up for this rolling out of our tool on August 1st, that we have a lot of things that high school counselors, administrators can use. This PowerPoint will also be available, so it has all of the right messaging. The Indiana College Corps is not the Core 30. We've heard it referred to as that, and I won't point anybody out, but it gets said a lot, and so please don't use that terminology. And it's also not the Core 40. You know that's a high school diploma type. And then another one we've heard a lot is the Common Core or the Indiana Common Core. So it's not any of those things. It's the Indiana College Corps or the ICC. You can move on to the next slide. All right, let's talk a little bit about what it does. And I know Ken touched on this. Again, this PowerPoint is a reference tool, so we think this is a good slide that you could use with parents. So the Indiana College Corps transfers and applies to meet the general education requirements at all of our public colleges and universities. Some private colleges are also going to start taking the Indiana College Corps. And I know we had some people signed up from the University of Indianapolis, and I would like to call them out and say thank you, because a few months ago, the University of Indianapolis came out and said that they would be the first private institution to say that they will take the Indiana College Core as a block. Now, I should point out that some of the private institutions will take the Indiana College Core, but they haven't said definitively that they'll take it as a block transfer. So when you have students that are transferring or going matriculating to all of the private institutions, it's really important to work with them to see what credits are going to transfer, because we just can't guarantee that that block transfer is going to happen just yet. So we hope that will change in the future. And then another point that we wanted to know is that within a university or college or a degree program, there might be major specific courses required beyond what is offered in high school in the Indiana College Core. One of the examples that we like to use is that if you're a STEM major, you might have to take calculus 2 or certain math. So all of those things should be considered. And that's why throughout this tool, and Jillian will reiterate this when she shows the tool, we have messaging everywhere that says that you need to work with your counselor to plan your Indiana College Core certificate, your pathways and everything. And then some questions to consider over here on the side. What are the math and sciences that I need to take? How many years of world languages do I need to take for the institution that I want to go to or the degree I'm going into? And then, just specific competency questions. What's the best written communication should I take? Should I take public speaking? If I know I'm going to go to a campus that requires public speaking for all majors, they might want to consider doing that in high school over one of the other written communication courses. All right, this is one of my favorite slides. We have used this slide a lot in different variations. It's also a lot of these points are going on a one-pager that we're going to have published on the My College Core website, because not only do we want to roll this out to high schools across the state, we want to communicate the value of completing the Indiana College Core. So I'm not going to read this whole slide to you, but some of the things I do want to point out are why earn the Indiana College Core? To get ahead. If a student has 30 hours of general education credit, they're going to have more flexibility in their schedule. They're not going to have to take as heavy load when they get to school. It's going to give them more time to kind of ease into college. We hear that is one of the major benefits, is that they don't feel like they have to take 15 or 18 hours their first semester in college. Explore more opportunities. Some of those we like to use are internships. We know those are going to be required in most majors these days. So it gives you time to do an internship during the year, maybe rather than the summer where you might have to work to earn money and not be able to do an internship. If a student is interested in study abroad, they're going to have time to do that if they have these 30 credits. Another one we say is that they can spend more time joining campus organizations, being in leadership roles. And the last one, which is really important, which parents love to hear, is that you can save both time and money. And we know that at some schools, the Indiana College Core is going to be offered for free, but the most they're going to pay is $750 to earn 30 credits. That's a huge savings over what you could earn it for in college. And then the other one we like to promote is that they could, if they want, a student could graduate on time, or graduate not on time, but both on time and early. So you can stay 4 years if you want, and you can get started on grad school. So it just really provides a lot of flexibility. So again, feel free to use these slides, and they will be, someone asked us in the chat earlier, all of these slides will be available on our website, and we can send them out after this webinar. Next slide. Okay, so one of the questions that we put in the chat was, and thank you, Michaela, for putting that in, students who earn the Indiana College Core are likely to succeed. So what % of students who earn the Indiana College Core go on to attend college? Our latest figures at the commission show that it's about 94% of students, which is huge. And those numbers, as we get more students earning the core, they'll be updated. But that's a great figure. We love love to highlight that. And then we know that students who matriculate to college, who have earned the Indiana College Core, have better success once they get to college. And you can see that 70% of the Indiana College Core earners meet what does it say? Meet benchmarks for early success. So some of these benchmarks are they do not require remediation in math and English subjects, that they complete all of their courses that they attempt, so they're not withdrawing from courses, and that they, a real big one, they persist. They're staying in college. So we just know that this is a great tool for students. It's a great tool for students who maybe don't think that they're college ready, and it can show them in high school that, yeah, maybe I do have what it takes to go on to college. And then where can students earn the Indiana College Core? So this is a map, and this is available on our My College Core website, and there are some links here. And this is what the map looks like right now, which is showing, I think, 141 high schools, and it's going to be updated on August 1st. And Michelle's going to talk a little bit about this in the next section. But I just wanted to show this here because this is something that is going to be updated on a yearly basis as we increase the schools that are offering it throughout the state. So you can earn it in high schools across the state, but also important to note that the Indiana College Core did start as a transfer tool in between the public institutions. So that's how it came to be. And it's just over the years been offered in high school. So if I'm a student and I don't earn it in high school, I can still earn it in college. And if I earn that block of 30 credits in college, I can transfer it to another public institution. And then there's some resources at the bottom of the page, our Transfer In website and our My College Core website. So those are active links. And then the last thing that I want to talk about is who is currently awarding the certificate. So currently we have 12 providers, and you can see all of their logos here. We have Ivy Tech and Vincennes, of course, and then we've had some great 4-year partners say that they're going to start offering it, and they're really doing a great job working with high schools across the state to make sure that the courses that students need to earn the Indiana College Core are available at these high schools. So currently we have 2 of the Purdue campuses, the University of Southern Indiana, Ball State, and then all of our IU campuses, except for IUPUI, are awarding the Indiana College Core in high school. And we hope to have a few more join us in the next month or so. So those will be updated as we have new providers sign on. All right, and then the last thing I wanted to address before I hand it over to Michelle is if you're a high school and you don't currently offer the core, what are the steps to do to be able to do that? Well, the first thing is that you need to start conversations with a post-secondary provider. So one of the institutions on that previous slide. If you have a post-secondary provider that is currently providing dual credit in your high school, that's where I would start. The commission has guidance. We call it criteria to be a delivery site of the Indiana College Core. So if you're interested in that, please contact us. I don't think it's on My College Core, but we can put it on there if it's something that people feel that they'd like to see. And then after you're having conversations with their post-secondary provider, you obviously need to start seeing where the gaps are in the courses. If there's certain courses, teachers that you need to have to teach the certain courses that you need to fulfill all of those 6 competencies. So there's a lot of work to be done, and that's the primary reason you need to pick a primary post-secondary partner, because they're going to help you do that work. The reason we say you need to have one primary partner, that doesn't mean that's the only partner that can offer dual credit in your high school, but that person or that institution, once you sign an MOU with them, they're kind of in charge of that process, and they have to help make sure all of the courses are available that a student would need to complete the Indiana College Core. So it's their responsibility. And then they're going to help the commission get data on those completers and people who are enrolled in the the dual credit courses at your high school. So they're just really they're the coordinator. So once you pick a primary post-secondary provider, you're going to sign an MOU, and then they'll help guide you through that process. So I can't say enough good things about picking that one primary post-secondary partner. And now I'm going to shift it over to Michelle, who is going to talk about the expansion efforts in the state.
Thank you, Jessica. I do see a question here from your section that maybe we can address. It says,
Oh, okay.
before you go, will you share the difference between the ICC certificate at high school and then general education core at a university? So the big difference there is, this is where the confusion Jessica was saying earlier between, we hear things like Common 30 and Indiana Common Core and those sorts of things. So most of the campuses have some sort of Common Core or language like that. That is a set of courses that all students are required to take. Depending on the campus, that may match the Indiana College Core, it may not. But the Indiana College Core is a certificate of 30 credits that can be transferred as a block to any public institution at the state, and then to some private institutions, as Jessica mentioned. And depending on the campus that the student goes to, that may fulfill whatever their Common Core requirement is for their degree or plan of study at their campus. But it's also possible that the campus may require some additional credits above and beyond what that block of 30 credits is. For example, I happen to know one campus in our state has 39 credits as part of their Common Core. So students would need to take some extra classes to be able to finish that out for their plan of study. So it's just a good reminder for students. Sometimes we'll hear students who have completed the Indiana College Core, and they'll say, well, I still had to take extra classes when I got there. And that is very legitimate. That may be the case depending on specifically the institution that they go to and the specific major that they choose to enroll in. But the 30 credits would transfer as a block in and help speed up their time to complete those requirements for their plan of study. Okay, so I have the pleasure of talking about the expansion of the Indiana College Core. I joined the commission here in September, and this has been one of the projects that I have been working on since arriving. You heard Commissioner Lowry share earlier that back in 21-22, we had 84 schools that were participating, and that we had released a goal to expand the number of high schools that were offering the Indiana College Core and the number of students who were earning the certificate. That recommendation came out as part of our college readiness report. You'll see here on the screen that came out last summer. We release that report every summer, and it talks about the college going rates for high school students overall and a variety of different subpopulations of students, including those who complete the Indiana College Core. So that report is where we got that 94% completion rate for those who earn the Indiana College Core. And we set a goal in that report before I came on in September that we wanted to increase the access to Indiana College Core across high schools, as well as at least quadruple the number of high school seniors that earned it. So then a few months later, I came on board, and my first week we're at our commission meeting, which is our board meeting, and Commissioner Lowry was doing some back of the napkin math at his seat and figured out that if we had a 70% increase per year over year for the next 3 years, that we would get to all high schools. He picked that number based on the increase that we had from 2020-21 to 21-22. And he looked across the room and said, this is going to be our new goal. And we have been on that since. So we have a goal over the next 3 years to expand to all high schools. Currently, that number stands at 507 eligible schools that could offer the Indiana College Core. And then simultaneously have had a goal to have all public campuses approved this summer to offer the Indiana College Core. And as Jessica mentioned, we're making great progress to have our public campuses join us as partners in that work. Okay, part of the reason why we certainly want to expand access to the Indiana College Core because the college going rate for those students is so high, one of the highest rates in the state for the different populations of students that we look at college going rates for. But part of the reason why we also wanted to expand access is to address some equity concerns that we have in pre-college credit. The little charts that you see on the right-hand side of the screen here comes from our early college credit report. You'll see linked down there at the bottom of the slide. And this is a report we've done every couple years or so. We just started having conversations last week about updating this report so that we have some new data to share with you. But you can see from the charts on the side that there are some equity gaps pertaining to socioeconomic status as well as race and ethnicity for those not just who complete the Indiana College Core, but also other types of pre-college credit that they could earn in high school. So coming from that report again in 2021, you can see 30% of Black students and 50% of Hispanic or Latino students earn dual credit compared to 65% of white students. You'll also see that 34% of dual credit earners are from low-income backgrounds, while only 15% of AP credit earners are from low-income backgrounds. In addition to those statistics that you can see on the charts on the right-hand side there, as we looked into expanding the access to the Indiana College Core, we also found some geographical differences. If you look at a map similar to the one that Jessica showed earlier, and you overlay AP earning or dual credit earning or Indiana College Core earning, there's definitely some clusters around the state of where we see really high rates. And then there's some areas of the state where we don't see as much access, and we'd like to make sure that students, regardless of where they live across the state, have access to those opportunities. And so we have been really intentional as we think about how we expand access to the Indiana College Core over the next 3 years, making sure that we do so in as equitable a way as possible. Okay, so I mentioned that we currently, based on the school directory that we get from the Indiana Department of Education, have determined there's 507 total schools that could be eligible to offer the Indiana College Core. Based on that map that Jessica shared earlier, we have 141 Indiana College Core delivery sites right now. And as several of us have shared, in August, we'll be releasing an updated map, and we expect for there to be over 240 schools on that map once we have made that update. So currently we're at just over a quarter of eligible high schools. And as I mentioned, we want to get to 100% over the next 3 years. I mentioned earlier that Commissioner Lowry was like 70% year over year will get us there. And as we have done some further investigating, we actually found out that it would only take a 55% increase year over year to get to all high schools. We certainly know that comes with some challenges that we'll need to partner with our schools and our primary post-secondary partners to overcome. But we're excited for the progress that we've made this year and what we expect to come in the year ahead. You'll see a note there on the right-hand side. This total number of schools certainly fluctuates. It's already fluctuated quite a bit in the last few months. Sometimes that's because of virtual education offerings that either open or close, mergers of schools or consolidations, but also opening of new schools. So annually, we'll provide an update of the total number that we are looking at for the number of schools that could offer the core. Okay, and then a lot of times you get questions about financial aid, specifically and how it can be utilized for the Indiana College Core. Generally, state financial aid. So if you're familiar with the 21st Century Scholars Award or the Franco Bannon Grant, many of our other grants that are for our students who want to become teachers down the road, all of those sorts of things, that type of financial aid cannot be used for dual credit and dual enrollment in high school. Part of that is that much of our state aid requires that the students have graduated high school. So we need them to finish their diplomas before they can activate their financial aid opportunities. The caveat to that is that our CDO funding, which is for children of disabled veterans, can access their funds to be able to pay for dual credit and dual enrollment. And if you have any students who think that they may qualify for that financial aid, they can certainly reach out to our financial aid support center to ask how they could utilize that funding for that. We do try across the state with a variety of support to make this as affordable as possible. So dual credit is currently capped at $25 per credit hour. That being said, dual credit is always free for students who qualify for free and reduced lunch. That would be the same population of students who qualify for the 21st Century Scholars Award. So we do try to make it as affordable as possible. The other thing that we'll mention pertaining to financial aid is that FAFSA completion is part of the criteria to be a delivery site now. That's a change that we have made this year. When I mentioned that there were some geographical differences across the state for who is completing the Indiana College Core, we also see the same thing for FAFSA completion. And so we were having a conversation last fall, and I would just hate for there to ever be a time where a student completed the Indiana College Core and potentially missed filing the FAFSA and could have qualified for some financial aid to further their education. We certainly want all students to file the FAFSA. And so if you are a high school that has partnered with one of our post-secondary campuses to offer the Indiana College Core, part of that criteria now is to work with us and your primary post-secondary partner on FAFSA filing for all students, not just those who are completing the Indiana College course, so we can enhance the number of students who access our abundant state financial aid and federal aid as well. Okay, so this is what the possibility may look like. So this map has blue, red, orange, and gray markers on it. If you have challenges seeing those colors at the bottom of the screen there, you will be able to link to this map and you can toggle to different color schemes that might be more visually accessible if you need to change the color scheme there. But you'll see this is what we hope to our growth to look like over the next 3 years. So the 242 plus campuses that we will update for the map would be there on the far left of the screen, and then our year 2 and year 3 expansions would follow. You can see that we've been very intentional to try to spread the number of high schools offering Indiana College Core out across the state, so we're not clustering them in any one region as we expand over the next 3 years. And we've also taken into account which high schools have the highest percentage of low-income students, as well as students from other diverse backgrounds, so that we give as much opportunity to students as we can as we work towards expanding to all high schools across the state.
Slowly coming in.
The last thing I'll share here is we have some wonderful incentives for our schools to and for our students to be able to complete the Indiana College Core. Out of the last legislative session, those incentives grew, and we're so grateful for the legislature for supporting this work. So you can see the schools now can earn $40 per credit hour completed by a student for dual credit and dual enrollment, up to a maximum of $1,200 per student. We can also have schools earn $1,500 per student that successfully complete the Indiana College Core. And then if students wanted to go above and beyond, they can get up to $2,500 for completing an associate's degree. That amount per student is capped at whatever the maximum threshold is. So if a student were to earn enough dual credit to reach $1,200 and earn the ICC and earn an associate's, they would just get the $2,500, or the school would just get $2,500. But it's a great incentive for schools to be able to maximize opportunities for students to earn a credential and prepare for an easier experience in college by earning some of this credit. Also there at the bottom of the screen, many of you may have heard about our Crossing the Finish Line initiative that was initiated through some funds that were accessible coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic. Out of this last legislative session, additional funding has been set aside for that program through a line item to support through the Indiana Department for Education to continue that for the next 2 years. So we do have $2.5 million per year. And Crossing the Finish Line is designed to help high school juniors and seniors in the summer after junior year and the summer after senior year to complete a credential. So currently that is allows students to complete associate's degrees, the Indiana College Core, and certain CTE pathways as well. So we are wrapping up our 3rd year from the funding that we had coming out of the pandemic, and we'll be going into a new cycle with this new funding that came out of the last legislative session. So it's a way for us to help students make sure that they can complete as much as possible before enrolling in post-secondary education. All right, and it looks like as Jillian changes the slide here, I'm going to toss it over to her, and she's going to talk about our new My College Core tool.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. And I have just a couple of slides here to talk to you about My College Core, and then we'll actually dive into the tool and do a live navigation. Hopefully you're excited. We've been trying to spread the word about this tool that we've been working on for about 2 years now, since we did the rebranding from the STGEC to Indiana College Core. So we're very excited to show you. And I know Jessica doesn't like me sharing this story, but just to give you a heads up on why this was created, Jessica was working with her son, and he was trying to figure out the courses to take to earn the Indiana College Core, and it was just a little bit confusing with the information that was out there, what was given to her, and we thought we have all of this great information, this great data that we can link together to create an easy to use one-stop shop for students, parents, counselors. So that's really where this came from. But to go over just a little bit about the tool, we have mentioned throughout this, it's launching August 1st. It has been available since July 5th for you to go on and browse through, but we will be officially launching it August 1st. And right now it is down because our developer did not want you looking at it instead of watching our presentation. So you're going to have to watch me to get the full run through on here. So again, it was created to be a one-stop shop for all things Indiana College Core. There's a lot of information out there that might still include the STGC, all of these terms that are really not the Indiana College Core. So we wanted to try to make resources for everyone and have a place that everyone can go to learn about the Indiana College Core. So this is a planning tool that's going to show you the college level coursework, dual credit, dual enrollment, AP, and CLEP information that make up an Indiana College Core, and it's specific to every high school that offers it. And a student can create a plan and then they can email that plan to their parents or their counselor. We're even looking into ways that students can just click a button and share it with their counselor. But it's really meant to be for planning purposes, and it is not a scheduling tool. There's no way to link to your student information system on there or any way to actually get scheduled in those classes. So we really want to reinforce working with your counselor and making sure that you get that guidance you need. We are very excited about a toolkit that we've created for high schools. We'll show you that here in a moment, but we're going to have downloadable posters, handouts, videos. This PowerPoint is already on there. We have a little signature that you could put in your a little image that you can put in your signature if you offer the Indiana College Core. You can download logos, lots of great information for you, and we'll be continuing to improve that as this tool goes forward. But one more slide here about some focus groups that are coming up. They are coming up here really fast. Wednesday, July 19th, we have a few focus groups, and then we'll also have some on Tuesday, July 25th. You can either scan the QR code here, or when you go to this presentation later, you can click straight on the link. We will be more than happy to accommodate you at a different time if those few options don't work. We really want to get feedback on this tool and make it the best we can for everyone that's going to be using it. And it is something that we're going to continue to maintain and improve during the life of the tool. So don't think that what you see today is exactly what it's going to look like in a year. It's probably going to evolve and be very different. So I'm going to stop sharing for just a moment, and I am going to open up my other window so we can actually see the tool. So hang on just a second. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see that. And you may have already been on here, but we just wanted to give you a high level overview of some of these pages that are on here and then really dive deep into the planning tool. You'll notice that this is very consistent branding to our Learn More Indiana website. We tried to make it very fun, very engaging. We want students to come on here and continue to come back and mark their progress as they go throughout earning the Indiana College Core. So the landing page, again, it's mycollegecore.org. So we're hoping that it's very easy to just throw out there and to put on marketing materials and advertisements to get parents, counselors, students to use the site. So this is just a general landing page that has information about the Indiana College Core and this website. Down here at the very bottom in the footer, there is a toolkit for schools. So we can go over that here in just a moment, but that's going to be a great resource for our high school partners. And then there is an about section. We have what is it? I won't click on that because Jessica did a deep dive into that for everyone, but those are basically the components that you're going to see on what is it, why earn it, how to earn it. We have a great checklist and I'll click on that, but we are developing this too. So it's more downloadable, a great resource that you can just print out for students, or they can take that home to their parents and go through this site and check off as they go through this list of items to do to earn the Indiana College Core. Where can I earn it? That is what was referenced in the PowerPoint presentation. This is the map that we saw really recently in the PowerPoint, and it has those 141 high schools that offer the Indiana College Core, and then it will be updated to 240 plus. We're not exactly sure that right number just yet, but it will be updated on August 1st. So it's very easy to just save this in your bookmarks and go on here and see what schools offer the core, who their provider is. You can even search it if you'd like to look specifically for certain schools. And then the who accepts it, we do also have those logos on here of, this is a little bit different than the PowerPoint because this is who's going to accept it. The previous PowerPoint page was who offers it, just to show that difference here, because a couple of the providers like Purdue Global, Purdue, let's see
West
here,
Lafayette.
West Lafayette, I don't see that one on here. Oh, there it is, Purdue University, sorry.
Yep.
But those are on here because they do accept it, but they are not offering it. So then we do have an addition here that is our private nonprofit that is accepting the core as a block. So thank you, UIndy, and hopefully we'll have some others that are able to be added to this as time passes. One additional resource I wanted to show you, there are terms to know, AP and CLEP information, FAFSA information as well, but frequently asked questions, because we know there are so many questions that come about from the Indiana College Core. We wanted to make a great resource here in this tool so that you can go here and find out answers to a lot of those questions that you hear. So we understand that we will be adding a lot of questions to this section, we're sure, of in the future. So if you have some that might be great to add on here that you'd recommend, we'd love to hear those. And I think as we go forward with the focus groups, we'll also be hearing a lot about this section, but we wanted to try and cover transcripts, exam scores, sending that information to the schools, as well as just general questions about the core, because there are so many of them that come up. And that was the need for this webinar. So we're happy to have this little section. But to dive right into the planning tool, there are links throughout the site because the goal is really to take a student to the planning portion. So you can see it says it's still under development. So if you see things when you go on here over the next few days that are changing, we're hoping we have a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like on August 1st. But our developer is working very hard to get this all in place for that fall school year so our students can really start using it. But what will happen here, I am logged into my account. There will be a little portion on the right-hand side where you can create an account right when you land here. Very easy. It's free, of course, and that allows a user to come back here and be able to see their core plans, or they can always start a new one, but they don't have to start from scratch. They can save their plans and start from there. So what you'll do to start off with the tool is you'll type in your high school name, and we do have every high school in here at this point. So if I just start with an A, you're able to see all of the high schools that are connected and their town name, because we have learned that many high schools actually have the same names. So we've tried to distinguish them the best that we can here. Hopefully, if you're able to go in here later today or tomorrow, you'll be able to see your school. We understand not all of these schools are providers yet, but we wanted to have them on here and then have a way for them to follow up with a counselor, with a school administrator, to see if it's possible to offer the Indiana College Core at their school. So I'm going to go through an example here, and we love using this Batesville High School one because our commissioner is from Batesville. So we like to show this example because it is a very good example with the courses that are offered, the AP opportunities. But once you click on a school, there is a pop-up here that talks about getting started. So the first step is naming your plan, then it's building your plan with the 6 different competency areas that we talked all about in the PowerPoint, and then being sure that your total is at least 30 credit hours. And then we want to emphasize sharing your plan with your parents, with your counselor, and then being able to come back and so making an account, being able to come back on here, edit them, and then also marking off your courses that you've completed. Keep in mind, we really are emphasizing working with your counselor. Again, it is not a planning tool. We are trying to say that throughout this so that this can help guide someone through the process of earning the core, but it does not do that for them. So we have a little bit of an at a glance on this page still. Everyone that goes on to the portion of the tool is going to see that pop-up that we just saw that's more in-depth information. And this is more of an at a glance, but we discovered that a lot of people didn't look at this when they came to the page. So we wanted to have that pop up first. But this shows Batesville High School is the high school that I selected. I can always click on a different one. Maybe I want to see what they offer across town. I can go ahead and do that and see their dual credit offerings. This primary partner institution is Ivy Tech Community College, but that will be populated with whichever provider is the primary partner. And then we have this pathways piece in here. Right now, it's general undecided, but we will have all of the TSAPs in here by August 1st.
Yes,
Jessica
by
works
August
hard.
1st.
To get those in here, and I will show you what those do in just a moment. But as it said at the beginning, I need to name my Indiana College Core Plan, so I'm just going to call it my core plan. We have a little opt-in here that we're still working on, but it says to check the box if you'd like to have this shared directly with your school's counselor. We've had a lot of suggestions of having counselors or higher ed institutions ability to see a plan based on what high school it's connected with, so we're still figuring that out. We're not quite set on this just yet, I don't think, but that will be evolving. And then you'll see down here the 6 different competency areas. What a student will do is go on here and they'll click on the different competencies. It will open up an accordion, and then it will show them the number of credits that are required. So in this area, I need a minimum of 3 credits, a maximum of 6. It tells me how many credits I've selected and also how many credits I've completed. So once you click on a course, down in this section, you'll see it says course name, course number, number of credits, the type, which this one's dual credit, and the provider is Ivy Tech. So I think that looks good. I want to take that. I want to work with my counselor. And then you can also choose another course if you're interested in doing that. Once you've actually completed a course, there is a box to mark completed, yes or no. And all of this will tally up on the right-hand side. So you can see I have 2 boxes checked, which totals 6 hours. 6 of them are from Ivy Tech because, as we learned, 15 of them have to come from that primary partner. So we want to tally that up and make this as easy as possible for someone to understand. If we go throughout this, you can see the different courses pop up in the different competency areas. A little green box or a little green check mark populates up here once we've met the requirement for that section. And once we get to this section, this one's a little bit different because you can see there's an AP course on here. So as we know, it is required that a student would take an AP exam to earn that credit. And what we've done is linked our transfer in database to this tool. So it's going to show a student what credit they would receive based on the score that they put in. So right here, a 3, if I select that, it's going to show me I received this Math 211, that's 4 credits. If I select 4 or 5, I'm dreaming big, I'm going to be really great at calculus. It populates the credit that I would receive there. And it's going to be the credit for that primary partner. We understand the credit hours might be different, the credit equivalencies might be different based on where a student goes, but we are trying to explain that throughout this tool so that someone's not confused by that aspect if they go to a different institution. So I'm going to select the AP calculus, and then I can also go and choose some other courses on here to meet the requirements. Scientific ways of knowing, you can see there's another AP course on here. And then we also have these last 2 competency areas. So I'm going to select at least 3 from this area. I'm already at the 30 credits. And then I'm going to choose 1 more here. And I've met the requirements that I need. So I'm going to either share it, which you can send with your first name, your last name, your email. You can send a message, and then you can send it up to 5 people. You don't have to save your plan to do that. Anyone is able to share it. You don't have to sign up. But if I save it, then it's going to create a dashboard for me, and it's going to show me my dashboard with my saved plans, which high schools they're connected to, when I created them, and how many of the courses I selected out of the 30. You're also able to share it on here. You can delete it if that's not interesting to you at all. You can view it or you can edit it, and they are all password protected. So it's going to put a password with each plan that you create. So not anyone can just type in a URL and find your plans. I will show you what the printout page looks like on here. See, again, it's password protected, so you have to enter that in before you're able to see this printout. But the printout is very similar to what we were just looking at on the planning stage, except it's taken out the courses that I didn't select. So it's showing me Batesville High School, I'm connected with Ivy Tech, I'm an undecided pathway. It is also noting it's not a transcript. We don't want anyone to think that this is a transcript that they can send somewhere and receive credit. We also want to put that disclaimer on that students are responsible for working with their counselor, and these courses can change throughout time. But if you're looking at this, you can see that it's very similar information. It's just presented a little bit cleaner. It's something that a student and parent can download. They can save it to their computer. They can print it out. Maybe a student is working with a parent and then they're meeting with the counselor the next day. They're able to either email it to them or print it out and take it into that meeting. And then we have just a few additional notes here at the bottom, and that is more about sending transcripts, sending AP and CLEP scores. We have the link on there to College Board where you'll go to request those. Just a little bit about the GPA requirements, and then also reiterating that when you apply to college, you need to send all official transcripts and AP and CLEP scores. So this section will probably evolve as we go throughout the focus groups. And we're hoping a lot of this does, but we are pretty happy with where it's at right now, I would say. I think it's hopefully going to be pretty helpful to students, and hopefully we'll get a lot of traffic on here. We are able to track every click, so we're going to be able to see how many students are interested in certain pathways, where they're coming from across the state. All of that information we have set up so that we're able to track it. Did you guys have anything you wanted to add?
There is one question about, basically, will counselors be able to see which of their students have or have not filled out a plan? So if they wanted to be proactive, to reach out to those who have never even logged in and look at this.
Yeah,
To sort of think about what their communication strategy might look like.
and I think this is a question that would be really helpful to have some feedback from counselors. We've kind of heard mixed reviews on whether or not they want to be seeing these plans that are created. We do have that opt-in that I showed you. So that would put it in a system that the counselor or whoever at that high school would be able to actually see. So it's just a matter of opting into it. So I'll show you right here, see this opt-in button. If a student would select that, that would automatically be available for a counselor to view. So I think we just need to talk about how we want to present that information, because I feel like it's really a great resource to provide to people that are interested, but we also have to follow that privacy.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
And not cross a line there.
We talked about on the other end having, and I'll go ahead and turn my camera on as well if you guys want to do that, since we're going to have a little Q&A here. We talked about having a counselor be able to access like the back end of the tool, but it really came down to the whole privacy issue. So thus the opt-in button. We are, and I know Jillian probably said this, but we are hoping that this tool really takes the burden off counselors. And that's one of the reasons that this tool came to be, is that when I was planning with my son to go into high school and earn the Indiana College Core, I didn't even have an opportunity to meet with his high school counselor because she has like 400 kids, maybe even more. So it's a lot. And we're hoping that this tool can really streamline the process. So I know that Michelle and I have been answering questions in the chat. So if you have, we have about 20 minutes left. If you have questions, go ahead and put those in the chat and we'll try to go through those. If we don't get to them today, we can contact you and get your questions answered. I know that you have Jillian's contact information, so feel free to reach out to us that way. Jillian's spotlighting the toolkit. And this is where the PowerPoint presentation will be. Like I said, you can download that. We do have a few tweaks to make, so we'll get that up here in a couple of hours. One thing I did notice, and that we have our friends from Cell on the call, and I apologize. I should have mentioned this, but back to my slide, how does this high school partner with a primary post-secondary provider? Cell, and if somebody from Cell wants to put a link to your website in the chat, that would be really helpful. Is an organization that you can partner with, and they can help in that process. They work with the commission to endorse early college high schools. And so they have a lot of knowledge. They can help with getting teachers credentialed. Is there anything else that you would add to that, Ken? So yeah, that I put a note to myself to add that for the next PowerPoint. So are there any other
Yeah,
questions
there's
that
a
you'd
couple
like
other
to?
Thanks, I just saw someone. posted
Perfect,
that link
thank you.
there. There's a couple others. Can one of you speak to transcripts, how this is designated on transcripts, and how an institution would know that a student has earned the Indiana College Core?
Ken, I'll
Okay.
defer to you on that.
All right, let's see. The legislation calls for the transcript to denote that an institution, that an individual has completed the core. With respect to the high school students, as indicated, as part of the policy that we develop for institutions to become primary post-secondary partners, one of the elements of that set of responsibilities that they have is to award a certificate that designates the individual as completing the core. So they will get a certificate, just like a college student who earns a certificate or a degree in a particular area will receive a diploma to that effect. So, for high school students, again, who complete the core, they will receive a certificate indicating that they have earned that Indiana College Core.
Okay, great. One of the other questions that I see is, what are the steps to get this out to students and get them signed up for the My College Core tool? So like Jillian said, it will be available on August 1st. So really there's nothing you need to do. It's there. It's a website. You're free to use it at your schools. There's that toolkit that will have resources for your school to use on your website. There's going to be a nice one-page handout that you can use for parents, like if there's a back to school night that you can hand out. Something I don't know if you said, and when you talked about the toolkit, is that if there are things that you think that you want for your school, one of the things we have yet to be designed, but is in the works, is a banner that if you're an Indiana College Core delivery site, there's going to be an image that you can use to get a banner printed. We're not going to print the banners, but you can print them and hang them at your school, because we know that some of the endorsed early college high schools have those really cool banners that say that. So we thought this would be a really neat tool. But if there's something that you think this would be really helpful, please reach out to us. We're happy to help with that. But back to the original question, you can push this website out to your students however you want. It's going to be out there for you to use. And then the kind of a related question is, will the focus groups go through the training of how to use the tool? We hadn't really discussed that particular, like how to train your.
And we will be doing short videos, and one will be a tutorial, and then there will be a PDF copy that's a tutorial on how to use the tool. We're happy to sit down with anyone and show them how to use the tool. I'm sure it will get brought up how it works in the focus groups, but it's not going to be a deep dive into that. It's going to be more overarching. And here's a scenario.
Yeah, we're going to try in the focus groups to get feedback on the tool. So it's really like delving into does the website work the way that we think it works? Because we think it's fantastic, but we need some feedback from people who are looking at it with fresh eyes. So that's really what the focus groups are designed to do.
Yeah,
Well-
and feel free to sign up or reach out to me and we can get you registered. I know there was a question and I don't think you guys answered it. They are specific to every single high school.
I was just looking at that
The
question.
courses
Yeah.
are gonna be different for every single high school. So right now there are, not sure how many are in there exactly. The IB Tech folks have been fantastic about putting in the schools. So I think there's close to 100 in for IB Tech right now. But we're hoping that all of those 240 high schools that are offering the core have their unique
Mhm.
course offerings, AP credits in there by August 1st. And so that really is the benefit. It's bringing the transparency to this. It's going to be different at Elkhart High School than it is across town at Concord High School. So that's really the goal of this tool, is to bring light to everything that's offered at those specific locations.
Right, and that's one of the responsibilities of the primary post-secondary partner.
Yep.
It's up to them to make sure that they have a complete inventory of the particular
Mhm.
classes, courses that are offered at that high school.
And there were several questions in the chat about courses changing, and the tool will be updated annually. That's part of the criteria, is that the high school needs to work with their primary post-secondary partner to make sure that the tool is updated, that if you lose a teacher and you can no longer offer speech, that you update the course offering so that we know that what's being published out here, we know it's subject to change, and there's a disclaimer on the tool that says that, but that every year that we are showing the most up-to-date list of courses. Another question that I saw earlier in the chat was about homeschool kids. Do they have the opportunity to earn the Indiana College Core? And I do know that the DOE, the Department of Education, has some guidance on homeschool students. But I think homeschool students would be able to take advantage of dual enrollment opportunities.
Yes, they can. Yeah, absolutely.
Like go to a local campus and take courses. So you would just need to work with those providers to, like if you have a local IB Tech near your home, and that would be an option for you. Just work with the counselors there to see how the student could earn the Indiana College Core, but it is possible. All right. Michelle?
And, oh, I was just gonna say, I know someone has asked about a one pager, and we will be updating, not that particular one. We're creating a whole brand new one, and we
Mhm.
will put a QR code on there. That's a great suggestion, and that will be in that resources toolkit that we showed you that's on My College Core. All of those materials are going to be on there. And if there's something, we can't do everything, but if there's something that you think might be
Yep.
great, if we could get that out there as a resource for you, please let us know and we'll see what we can do.
A couple things I'll share, going back to the, how do we get the word out? So in addition to the My College Course site, you will see that site linked off the Transfer In site. You will also see it linked from our new Learn More Indiana site. So those of you who have used Learn More in the past, it got a redesign, and it's getting another redesign that is set to launch this August. So you'll also see us linked to Indiana College Core and My College Core tools from that website if you're a user. So we'll make sure that it's in as many places as possible. I dropped a link in the chat where you can sign up for updates from the commission. That way you'll get like our press releases and updated communications to your inbox. You can sign up for specific topics there. For our school partners, if you're on Counselor Talk, we regularly share information via Counselor Talk, and then we occasionally also share information via the Department of Education newsletter that goes out from Dr. Jenner. So we'll try to share information as many ways as we can. You can also partner with your post-secondary provider. I know many of them have embedded folks in your schools, but they also have opportunities to connect with students and families as well. And then last I'll share is many of the commission's outreach coordinators are on the webinar listening today. So we have 8 outreach coordinators that live and work across the state in specific regions. So 1 for Marion County, and then we divide up the other counties amongst the other 7. This PowerPoint that you saw today, we we'll be creating a PowerPoint for them that they can give in the schools about the Indiana College Core and the My College Core tool. So if you have them coming in to support your 21st Century Scholars or FAFSA or other things, hi Heather, I see you there. Or other things that they do to already support your schools, you can certainly have them come in and talk about the Indiana College Core. So we'll have resources for them to be able to do that as well. So we'll try to get the word out in as many ways as we can.
And one other thing to add, there is a piece of the criteria that says the high school needs to work with us on marketing and communications. And so that content that I showed in the toolkit is required to be on high school websites. I think the date we're throwing out for this year, because it was just created, was September 1st, but it does have a link to My College Core and it talks about the FAFSA as well. So just keep that in mind. Any school that is going to be offering it has to have that information on its website.
I think the other thing I'll share that wasn't asked, but I am frequently asked when I'm out and about across the state. So I responded to some questions about teacher credentialing. I know Jessica emphasized that, and our wonderful colleagues at SEL as a partner in that work. The most frequent question that I get outside of teacher credentialing is, I have 2 or 3 or 4 primary post-secondary institutions that are operating in my school, and what do I do to pick my partner? And we're certainly not going to make that decision for you. But what I would emphasize is that it is important to pick a partner. By not picking a partner to formalize the offering of the Indiana College Core, none of your students have access to get it. They're just earning dual credit that certainly they can take on with them, but without having that credential conferred. So while you absolutely can have as many post-secondary institutions operate in your school as you would like, the focus of having that primary post-secondary provider is that they help coordinate the logistics to make sure that your students can earn the credential and make sure that that credential is conferred, and not just sorting through what courses are going to be offered and how do we credential teachers, but also navigating transcript sharing amongst those institutions and a variety of other things. So if you are sitting in a school right now where you have a plethora of course opportunities for your students to earn the core and you just haven't made that decision yet, we would encourage you to partner with someone so that we can offer that opportunity for your students. And in the event that you would like an unbiased set of colleagues who can help you make that decision, that is something that SEL helps us do too. So in addition to helping endorse early college high schools and help with teacher credentialing, they can help sort through your options with the post-secondary partners who operate in your schools as well. So just an additional plug for them there.
And I see Karen's question in the chat. It does have the capability to show you other schools. So there may be one primary partner, but maybe a student, maybe the partner is Ivy Tech, but they're taking an IU course or a USI course. It will show those in the tool. And all of the information is linked on the back end. So it's very, very easy to put that information in and keep it consistent across the board, but it will show them that, and it will show them on that printout plan those various institutions that they're taking a course from, so they need to request a transcript from them.
And that's one of the things that Jillian highlighted when she was going through the tool, is that it's important to keep in those ground rules that Ken talked about, where you have to, a student needs to earn 15 of the credits from the primary post-secondary partner. And then the rest of it can be made up from other partners or AP, but it's important. Yep, and Tania, yeah, thank you. She just put it right in there. So exactly. And I'm trying to see if there were any other questions. I know, Michelle, was there anything about funding that you want? There were a lot of questions about funding. I don't know if we got to all of them.
Incentives are new. I did link to where you can find HEA 1001, which includes the details about those incentives. That funding will go through the Department of Education, but we will be partnering with them to help basically validate the data for those who earned credentials that would qualify for those incentives. And so that just came out this last legislative session at the end of April. And so we'll be working towards what the sort of implementation of that looks like. So more information to come on that, and you'll likely receive updates over the course of the school year related to that. But I did link to the legislation so you can see that in case you want to see the exact language that's in there.
And then I know there was that question about if a student earns it after they graduate from high school, and Michelle did address that they can still confer the certificate. And what was, yeah, we said the deadline was September 30th.
Yep, and that aligns with, so there are specific credentials that are being counted for the Indiana Graduate Prepared to Succeed GPS dashboard. And so that September 30th deadline aligns with the deadline to be counted for the GPS dashboard as well.
I love that. Okay.
This last question about, so if courses change, certainly we'll have a process working with the school and the post-secondary provider to update the tool as we need to if courses change. For the question about what if a course is no longer available and a student needs that specific course, this is one of the perks of having a primary post-secondary partner. So in the event that there is not a planned change of courses, like maybe there's an emergency situation that causes the course to not be offered, then your primary post-secondary partner will be able to help you kind of figure out what's the alternative for students. And then this tool can help students and families see what their options are too. So that may be a situation where they take a dual enrollment course through one of the campuses, or maybe that you supplement with AP credit or CLEP credit. And so your primary post-secondary partner will, part of their responsibility is ensuring that students have the options through a variety of course patterns to complete the course. So if you have a challenge like that come up unexpectedly, your partner would be able to help through that.
Okay, yep, I see this other question. I remembered this. Can you share info or advice on how smaller schools without enough credentialed teachers can offer
Yep.
the Indiana College Core? Maybe you can both
Yeah,
tag
I
team this.
shared some information a while back, but there's a lot of questions, so it's probably buried. So
Mhm.
I have two things that I initially shared about that. One is certainly you could talk with the primary post-secondary partners. If you've already signed with one, many of them have opportunities to help with credentialing. If you haven't signed with one yet and you're trying to decide who your partner is going to be, I would ask them about the opportunity for them to support you with credentialing. So there's that side. Also, as we've mentioned a few times, our partners at SEL, they partner with us on the Teach Dual Credit Indiana and STEM Teach initiatives to be able to help teachers get credentialed. So you could certainly refer teachers to them for assistance as well. And then outside of teacher credentialing, certainly that's always a path that can be pursued. But we have seen obviously the strategic use of dual enrollment and AP credit and CLEP credit to supplement what is being offered through dual credit in the school. And then also we do have in a couple of clusters around the state, some schools that are working together in sort of a consortium model. So if there's a few schools close together where they're sharing some teachers to be able to offer the Indiana College course. So if you are in a setting where maybe there's some nearby schools, the primary post-secondary partners are helping navigate those sort of consortium arrangements. So that may be something that you could consider as well.
Anything you would add there, Ken?
The only thing I would add, I think Michelle has covered most of the bases there, but we would also like to explore more online opportunities. Distance education, I think, can really be helpful here. And we certainly would welcome your suggestions along those lines as well. But I think the idea here is to try to focus on as many different strategies as possible. And the solution for any particular high school in one part of the state may be different from solutions pursued elsewhere. But what we're trying to do is to develop an array of tools, an array of potential solutions that in combination will enable every high school to provide the opportunity to their students to earn the core. But we would welcome your suggestions, and this will be an ongoing dialogue over the next year or two.
And I know that we have this one particular high school that in the Northwest region is leveraging a lot of dual enrollment to be able to offer the core, where they have an agreement with a campus to get students on campus and through distance ed just to be able to offer the Indiana College Core. And we have about 2 minutes left. And I think I see a question in the chat about tracking courses already taken. So this tool, when Jillian showed the plan, you can go in and edit your plan and you can mark the courses, the student can mark the courses that they've completed. But it is self-reported. So it's not, we're not going to be able to verify that on our end, or the counselor would have to be the one to verify successful completion of those courses. So several other questions made me think that maybe some of you were asking if this tool can interact with the student information systems at the high school. The answer is no. This is just a standalone tool. So, I mean, we would love to be able to do that, but it's really.
Right. And from our standpoint, this is why we're stressing so much that students ought to share their plans with counselors and others so that they can get the advice from many different sources. And it's not just the student preparing these plans in isolation. I think it certainly empowers the student and encourages the student to really think through how they might put together a plan that will lead to the Indiana College Core. But we will, on every opportunity, encourage students in every way possible to share this with counselors, their parents, and others so that they can double check the accuracy of the information and can get their advice in terms of if they have a couple of different courses that they're thinking of taking. But this is a great, fantastic tool, but we need the human touch as well. And you will
Absolutely.
always hear that from us.
And with that, go ahead,
Yeah,
Michelle.
one thing I would share for anyone who is joining us from a school who maybe doesn't offer the Indiana College Core yet, in addition to the resources we've shared about how you can talk to folks about credentialing teachers and finding a post-secondary partner and all that, those good things, you can also use the tool to go in and kind of peruse how other schools are offering this. So if you want to look at other schools in your district or in your county or your surrounding area, especially to inform what a conversation with your potential post-secondary partners may look like, we would also encourage you all to go in and explore the different schools that have that are offering the Indiana College Core and kind of what the options look like there, just to give yourself kind of a platform to start from as you begin those conversations.
Yes, that's certainly true. And let me add one other point too, and that is that as you're doing this, as you're discovering gaps that you may have, please look at all of the different major or TSAP options that are a part of the tool, because there may be some that will require courses that you're not offering. You may be offering courses that will cover some of the other TSAPs, but not all. So please be very thorough and comprehensive as you use the tool to develop gaps that you need to fill, either through your own teachers teaching the courses, or through dual enrollment, or through AP classes, or any of the other variety of options that we've talked about.
And with that great wrap up, we just want to thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for all of your questions. We will try to go back through the chat and look at those and reach out to you. Please reach out to us if you have any questions. And remember to share with your colleagues that we have 2 more of these, one in August and one in September. And please let us know if you have any questions. Thank you so much.